The main point of this class is to learn different methods of lean production and quality management and to see how they impact organizations. This class is for higher level students only, but as always, if you're a standard level student, you can stay. I'm not gonna tell anyone that you're learning higher level stuff. There are 3 parts in this class: lean production, quality management, and impact. It is always important to have a look at assessment objectives, but in this class it's particularly important because otherwise it would be hard to follow what I'm saying. There are quite a lot of concepts to learn in this class, and the way I organize the content is around assessment objectives. So that is why please like this video, subscribe to my channel, and most importantly, have a look at the assessment objectives for this class. Before we start learning what lean production is, I have to remind you about the previous class 5.2 operations methods. In that class, we learned job production, batch production, and mass/flow production and mass customization. So those were methods of production. Those were different ways how to produce, manufacture goods. Now we are learning lean production, and this is not really a method of production. So this is not the same category as job, batch, mass, and flow. Job, batch, mass, and flow is about how things are produced, and lean production is more of a characteristic of how production process is organized. So, bottom line, job, batch, mass/flow production is not in the same category as lean production. Now, the most important thing to understand for this part of class is assessment objectives. Let's have a look at them again. First, the objective is to identify the features of lean production. So I will talk about 2 features of lean production: decreasing waste and increasing efficiency. The second assessment objective is to explain the methods of lean production. In order to achieve this assessment objective, I will talk about Kaizen, or continuous improvement, and JIT, just in time. And for the third assessment objective, explain the features of cradle-to-cradle design and manufacturing, I will just talk briefly about what cradle-to-cradle is. So, quite a lot of things in this class. Please stay focused on assessment objectives. Let's start with the first one, to identify the features of lean production. First of all, what is actually lean production? It is an approach to manufacturing that aims at reducing waste and improving efficiency. Waste and efficiency are the 2 key words here, and they also correspond to the 2 main features of lean production: less waste and greater efficiency. Now, what is waste? When I say waste, many students naturally think about physical waste, about something that you throw in the garbage bin. This might be waste, but waste with regards to lean production is not only that. Waste is basically any inefficiency. It can relate to raw materials, components, labor, productivity, time, space, energy, and anything else. For example, let's say in a factory, a worker has to walk from working station 1 to working station 2, and it takes this worker 2 minutes. He walks between those 2 stations to grab different tools 10 times a day. It means that 20 minutes are wasted. So in order to make this production lean, maybe the distance between working stations has to be minimized so that workers do not spend 20 minutes walking from one station to the other. So once again, waste is any kind of inefficiency, and lean production is the one that aims at minimizing that waste. Now, what is efficiency? Efficiency is waste minimization, when there is no waste, when the use of all the resources is maximized. You might ask, how to improve efficiency exactly? Well, that is something that we will learn later on when we learn methods of lean production. So now we'll kill 2 birds with 1 stone. We'll achieve the second assessment objective for this class, to explain the methods of lean production, and also we'll see how efficiency can be improved with regards to lean production. Those 2 birds that we're going to kill with 1 stone is essentially one and the same thing: methods of lean production. Now, as always, I'm going to keep you busy, and I suggest you make notes in a systematic manner and fill in this table. There are two methods of lean production here, Kaizen and JIT, and what I think you should know about them is their definition, some features, and pros and cons. Now let's find out what those methods of lean production are. Kaizen is actually a Japanese word for continuous improvement. You can call it continuous improvement, or you can just say Kaizen. This essentially refers to the same thing. Kaizen is a method of lean production whereby small improvements are made regularly as opposed to random one-off improvements. Now, let's say there is a factory that manufactures chairs, my favorite example, and there are two ways how this factory can improve. One way is the boss is thinking,
oh, we haven't updated our equipment for quite a long time and we haven't trained staff, so on the 1st of December, let's do that.
This is not continuous improvement. This is just random one-off improvement, and perhaps this change will face a lot of resistance. How to deal with resistance to change is something that you can review in class 2.1, by the way. Another way how to improve this factory is to ask employees who work there to suggest tiny little improvements on a daily basis or weekly basis. This way you're always improving little by little. Random one-off large improvements are not required, and there are a lot of benefits in these small improvements that are suggested by the workers themselves. I've already said that Kaizen is a Japanese word, and this is something that started in Toyota factory in 20th century. They're still using that. I'm gonna leave a link in the description below where James May, one of the hosts of the legendary TV show about cars, Top Gear, so he's going to the Toyota factory somewhere in the UK to see what Kaizen is. This is an amusing video, and actually you will also learn a lot from it, so I highly recommend you to check this video in the description below. In addition to being invented by Toyota, some other features of lean production is that it's down to top. When I say that, I mean organizational hierarchy. So it's not the boss on the top who is suggesting or enforcing improvements and change down the organizational hierarchy to all employees. These are employees at the bottom who are suggesting improvements to the top. So that is why, if we consider it from organizational hierarchy, from organizational structure perspective, lean production and Kaizen particularly is down to top. Initiative comes from employees. Another important feature is that the focus of Kaizen is on improving the production process, not the product. These are not daily or weekly suggestions from the employees about how to make the final product better. Again, if we're talking about chair factory, the suggestions that employees make are not going to be about how to design better chairs. This goes to R&D department, research and development department, that we will learn later in Unit 5. The job of Kaizen, the purpose of Kaizen, is to make sure the way chairs are produced is improved. Once again, the focus is on the production process, not on the product itself. Now let's summarize what Kaizen is by looking at pros and cons. On the one hand, it's really motivating for employees because they are in charge in improving their own work and practice. It's not someone telling them what to do, they are suggesting these improvements. Additionally, Kaizen is completely free to implement. You don't have to buy a license to use Kaizen, you can just learn about it in the book or by watching this video, and you can start implementing it at your factory right away. By the way, you can start practicing Kaizen yourself right now. Think about what kind of waste there is for you in doing your homework and try to minimize this waste. That would be Kaizen. And lastly, Kaizen eliminates quality control. In the second part of this class, we'll learn two ways of managing quality control and quality assurance. So if there is Kaizen, then there is no need for quality control. More about that later in the second part of this video. On the other hand, if you think that,
oh, I know what Kaizen is, it's great, let's implement it right away.
It's not gonna happen like this. Kaizen is all about regular, small improvements by employees. So implementing Kaizen is the same as Kaizen itself. It's small and little by little and regular. So you cannot expect the workforce that is used to being told what to do to change in one day and suddenly show initiative and suggest improvements for their own work. So it will take time to develop the appropriate culture for Kaizen. And additionally, Kaizen will only work under two conditions: full commitment and full trust. If the managers do not trust their employees, they will micromanage, they will not trust employees, and whatever suggestions they make will be ignored. And secondly, if employees are not fully committed to Kaizen, again, it's not gonna work as well. So Kaizen sounds great, it sounds easy to understand, but implementing it in real life is a real challenge. Once again, a reminder to watch a video in the description below to see how James May from Top Gear went to a Toyota factory to learn about Kaizen. Just-in-time, or JIT, is a method of lean production whereby inventory is delivered only when needed, as opposed to having buffer stocks. Now, first let's figure out what's inventory and what is buffer stocks. Inventory refers to stocks of raw materials and components. Any parts of the final output, any raw materials that you use in production. So again, if you are manufacturing chairs, then your inventory might include pieces of wood and different fixtures made of metal. So you can just buy them beforehand, keep them in your stock, and then when you have orders from customers, you take materials from your stock little by little and manufacture chairs. Then when you see that your stock is running out, then you just order more from your suppliers of wood and metal fixtures. So this kind of stock that you keep just in case is called buffer stock. In just-in-time, in JIT, there is no buffer stock. You get an order from your customers that they need 10 chairs, and then you contact your suppliers and they deliver raw materials just for 10 chairs. That's how it works. Again, this is something that was developed in Toyota, no surprise here. It is the opposite of JIC, just in case, that I talked about a little while ago. And just-in-time only works with developed infrastructure and with reliable suppliers. If you cannot rely suppliers, then they might let you down, because the delivery time has to be really short. Otherwise, you will not be able to meet customer expectations in the short time. In Japan, where Toyota is from, it is quite a small country that has very well developed infrastructure. Delivery is swift, there are not many traffic jams, and suppliers are reliable, so JIT works really well. In countries with less developed infrastructure or with larger distances, just-in-time would be more challenging to implement, maybe on a smaller scale though. So on the one hand, apparently, just-in-time minimizes or completely gets rid of storage costs, because storage is not needed. You just get components or raw materials as you need them to fulfill customers' orders, so there's no stock. You save money this way because you don't have any stock, any inventory. You don't have to pay for security, for electricity. You might not even have a storage room if you're using JIT, because all the raw materials and components go straight onto the production line. And of course, all of the following improves efficiency. That is the whole point of implementing JIT. However, let's say your customers suddenly decide that they need 1000 chairs, and usually you manufacture 100 chairs per month, and now they need 1000 in a week. If you had buffer stock, then in addition to buffer stock, you could have contacted your suppliers to ask for more metal and wood, and maybe you could have manufactured 1000 chairs in such a short time. But if you do not have any buffer stock, you need to contact your suppliers, and they in turn might not have enough wood and metal for you because they need to produce it themselves. So that is why JIT is something that responds quite badly to sudden increase in demand. Additionally, in order to implement just-in-time, it not only has to be planned very well, but also it will take time to negotiate with suppliers, because suppliers, to be honest, are more interested in selling to you as much of their stuff as they can at once. And these regular just-in-time purchases might not really interest them. So persuading your suppliers that they can benefit from it is something that takes a lot of effort and time. Now, if you're a higher level student, then you might want to check class 3.6, where we learned stock turnover ratio, and you can think how stock turnover ratio relates to just-in-time. I'm also gonna leave another link in the description below where you can watch a video about just-in-time to enrich your knowledge and learn more. Just a reminder that there was a table that I asked you to fill in at the start of this class, and I hope now it's a piece of cake and you understand the definition, features and pros and cons of Kaizen and JIT. Congratulations, 2 out of 3 assessment objectives are achieved, hopefully, and now we move on to the last assessment objective of this class, to explain the features of cradle-to-cradle design and manufacturing. Let's start with a kinda funny story. One of my students, hi Stephanie, when I asked her, Stephanie, what is the opposite of cradle to cradle? She said, grave to grave. Actually, the opposite of cradle to cradle is cradle to grave, not grave to grave. So, cradle to cradle, or C2C, is a sustainable approach to design and manufacturing whereby products can be recycled or reused after their lifespan. Simply speaking, something is produced, then it breaks down or it's too old and you don't want to use it anymore, and you don't just throw it to trash, you actually give it a second life. It can be completely recycled, or it can be turned into a new product, or it can be used as fuel for something. Nowadays, most products are not cradle to cradle. Most products are cradle to grave. You use them, you throw them away, and then it's just waste. It's not used in any way. But with C2C, there is no such thing as waste, because all waste is either another product or fuel. This concept is pretty easy to understand. Honestly, I don't know what else to say to you, but I do encourage you to learn the ways how to implement C2C in real life. In order to do that, I suggest you either have a thorough look at this picture, right here in this video or in my textbook, or you check out the Wikipedia article about cradle to cradle. You find those pictures there. If you would like to see the full video, explore more content, download study materials, and if you want to try some exam questions and send them for feedback, then you need to get a subscription on levinsky.com. Mind the differences between different subscription levels. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram and TikTok to explore more business management content there.